In the beginning of building a new habit, even small changes can have a big impact. But as time goes by, it's common to see results tail off. You're doing all the right things, but you're just not seeing the results. This is what we call a plateau, and it can feel incredibly frustrating. But here's the good news: plateaus are normal and they're part of the journey. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to push through those plateaus and stay motivated for the long haul. Let's start with what's known as the plateau of latent potential. This is a phase at the beginning of your journey where the efforts don't seem to be making a difference yet. Imagine an ice cube sitting in the room. The temperature of the ice cube slowly rises from minus 18 degrees to minus 10 degrees to minus 5 to minus 1. Nothing happens. Then, as we pass 0 degrees, the ice begins to melt. That's how habits work. Your small, consistent actions are like the rising temperature. Even if you don't see the immediate results, they're building momentum behind the scene. It's not the final degree of temperature increase that has the effect. It's everything combined leading up to that point. When you go to the gym and follow a training program, you see no effects after the first hour, or the next day, or the next week. In fact, it's probably going to take weeks before you visually see a difference. Just like planting a seed, we need to exhibit a little patience and let it grow. Trust the process. You're probably not the first person to walk this new path. And if it works for other people, it will probably work for you too. Give it time. The key is to shift your focus from short-term results to long-term growth. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. When you're in a plateau, celebrating small wins can make a big difference. Every time you follow through on a habit, you're casting a vote for the person that you want to become. Those small wins build confidence and keep you motivated. When we're solely focused on the goal, our ideal, it can be like staring at the horizon. No matter how far or how fast we run towards it, it never seems to get any closer. We feel like we're falling short, not making any progress, failing. The key here is to stop and turn around. Take a look behind you and realise how far you've come. This is a concept known as the gap and the gain. The gap being the shortfall and the gain being how much progress you've already made. And we want to be focusing on the gain rather than the gap. It's great to have big far off goals, but it's just as important to celebrate the small victories as they happen. So get some regular milestones or small goals leading up to your main one and reward yourself when you hit them. Even the acknowledgement that you showed up for yourself each day is cause for celebration. If we forget to see how far we've come, the habit becomes a slog. It's like climbing a mountain and feeling like the peak is never going to arrive. But when we stop and take in the view from behind us, it makes it all feel worthwhile. It makes continuing much easier. And this brings us on to a hugely important concept that keeps us playing the long game. Focusing on the process rather than the goal. As I just mentioned, when we focus on the journey, on the small steps, it makes getting to our destination, the goal, all the easier. But there's another reason to be process rather than goal orientated. Many people set themselves a goal, work really hard to get there, and then what? They very often slip back to where they were before. This is the classic yo-yo dieting phenomena. People follow a restrictive diet, lose the weight and feel great for a while. But they've never put into place a system, a process that was sustainable. So they revert back to how they were eating before, and the results, putting back on the weight and having to start again. If you focus on the process, particularly one that aligns with the identity that you're wanting to create, you start behaving like that person. It becomes part of your identity, who you are. When the day-to-day process becomes your focus, it's less daunting. You don't have that vast mountain to climb in the far distance. It's just a matter of doing the work needed for today. We start to focus on the journey, not the destination. It's manageable, it's simple, it just becomes our daily life. The final goal suddenly appears in front of you, but now the process becomes so ingrained in you, you just keep on going. You keep on improving, you keep on growing. You move past what you thought was your goal onto new goals. And this is what it means to focus on the process rather than the goal. It keeps the momentum up. The man who loves the journey will walk further than the man who loves the destination. We put so much emphasis on the goal that our happiness is often entwined within it. This means that we are actively delaying happiness. What if doing the thing that ultimately leads us to achieving the goal is the very thing that brings the happiness? Well, then we achieve happiness every day. Goals give us direction, but the process and the systems are what create the steps to achieving the goal. A goal without a process is like staring at the destination on a map without ever navigating away from where you are. The magic is in the journey, not the finish line. During the process of getting closer to our goal, our bodies start producing dopamine that makes us feel good and keeps us driving onwards. But once we reach the goal, the dopamine levels drop off. This is why it can often feel a bit lethargic, or we can have a bit of an anticlimax after achieving our wins. It's the same reason why we often get buyer's remorse. We get excited about buying something new and the trepidation about it being delivered. But the enthusiasm drops off once we get it, when it arrives. Focusing on the process keeps the buzz high. Sometimes plateaus can happen because it's time to adjust our approach. Ask yourself, are my habits still aligned with my goals? Do I need to tweak the habit to make it more challenging or more engaging? For example, if you've been walking 10 minutes a day and it feels too easy, increase it to 15. Or if your journaling routine feels stale, try writing about a different topic or using prompts to guide you. And sometimes we actually need to pull back a bit. Constant pushing for growth can lead to burnout. Having a week to deload to reduce the effort can propel you forward faster than just grinding on. Once a habit is formed, it's totally okay to take a short break or to fall back on your baseline version for a while. But equally, there comes a time where we need to up the gears, to push harder. If we want to grow, we need to search out our limits. Growth often requires experimentation. Don't be afraid to change things up if your current routine isn't working, but give it a good amount of time first. Plateaus are a sign that you're on the right track. They mean you're putting in the work. So here's your challenge. Think about your desired habits. Get super detailed about the process needed to reach the goals and make this your focus. Set yourself some small milestones along the way and remember to track your process. It could be in a log, in a journal, in an app, whatever works for you. Celebrate those wins and that progress and be vigilant for plateaus. And don't be afraid to tweak and adjust your habits as needed.